Well, I'm not sure. In the campaign, what it was, that number comes from King David does a muster after the battle, days or weeks later. What can we get together? It's thought that some of the Scots died trying to get across the Tweed River, and not where there were known fords, because the English were guarding a lot of them, but just drowned simply trying to get across, because swimming probably wasn't terribly great skill for many of them and whatnot. So we have a lot of people dying in the escape, and the army shatters. Small groups of people are hunted down and are trying to hide, basically until darkness. They're hunted, and in a very vigorous sort of way, and continue from there. And so when they hold the muster afterwards, approximately 10,000 that had been there before don't show up. Does that mean they just went home? Like fuck this, I'm not gonna fight anymore this year, I'm going home. Probably some of that, probably a significant amount of that, quite honestly. There were prisoners captured. Slavery was very much a thing at this time. Some of the slavery, in my understanding, is sort of debt slavery. Now, I'm not talking about serfs. I'm not talking about getting people of different skin colors from other parts of the world. I'm talking about the local situation. Some of it was battle captives, as well. Soldiers captured in battle, as well as just raiding populations around at the time. Like St. Patrick was, in an earlier time period than this, was made a slave by Irish people, raiding what was still somewhat a Romanized Britain at the time. So probably a fair number of Scots in the army, and probably a fair number of camp followers, because we see all the guys here. There theoretically could be equal or greater number of women and children following this army. Probably not this army at this time, but certainly could be. But probably a lot of the women and children around would have been taken as slaves or captives of some sort. Now, they wouldn't be wealthy enough to ransom off or anything like that. Okay, they get pushed back, which isn't quite what they can still attack here. That's what I didn't want to do. I think a very high percentage was, yeah, fuck this, for a game of soldiers, I'm off home. Absolutely jammed today. And again, I know a lot more about the 18th century and the Jacobite Rising of the 1745, again, hence my name. The Highlanders in that campaign were, and I've literally read some of the, photocopies of the original muster, like daily muster books, but it also, what we did today, we drilled or whatever, it was the daily order book of some of the different regiments that have survived from the, and these are clan units, these are the guys that are wearing all the tartan, carrying the swords, just, like the Rob Roy movie or whatever you want to say. But they were trying to formalize a military discipline within themselves, not trying to become, modern, in their sense, modern military units entirely, but they were, in tactics and whatnot, but they were trying to sort of militarize themselves. But even with all of that, and I think with the consent of the hierarchy of the units, whether after a victory or defeat, a certain amount of the men would just go home. Now, often, a few days later, there would be maybe an equal number of men show up to that unit from home. And so it was a rotating of soldiers, of personnel, because these people were farmers, herdsmen, other sort of jobs at home, protecting the home situation, because like in the 45, there were still garrisons of, loyalists to the Hanoverian troops. I don't want to always say English because some of them were Scottish, that were holding out in some areas that were sort of raiding the clan lands. So they needed soldiers back at home to defend it. So I figure that's got to be here in this world, because like we said, I said earlier, the Kingdom of the Isles, the Isle of Skye, down at sometimes including the Isle of Man, some of those islands and some of the, peninsula tips on the Highlands, was a different kingdom. Well, if all of your clan warriors, these Highlanders, were all off fighting in England, well, that's entirely left open. So those guys, not all of them ever left. So it was never like 100% kind of a thing. And so a lot of them, they have harvest to bring in. Absolutely, that's depending, or planting to do, depending on the time of year. So there's a lot of rotational elements of soldiers at this time, where the Norman knights, they were professionals. Now, they too did have they're in the midst of a civil war, need to protect their lands as well. But, they're more like these levies, these guys here. They have very low morale. We're going to charge here and impact them for an immediate disruption. No, I have not forgotten about playing the game, but I do want to talk about how and it was as much about willingness to fight got you in the pre-feudal society. No, they had held firm. Well, they were actually doing pretty well, I guess. But, well, let's charge. Good Highland charge on their flank. And they held firm again, but at least it took lots of casualties. Very good. They auto-break, charge in. Fortunately, it gave them their flank, but which gives these guys the attack vector there. They're being pinned by this thing. I'm not going to attack it. I don't know if these guys can attack there. Okay, you shoot there. Not like too much good, but still shoot. Now these guys are going to move to be potentially into that operation there. Now these guys can. Yeah. Let's do our own mounted charge into them disrupted. Very good. That disruption helps us a lot. That's these levies. And so now the levies. Again, one, I want to stress, we don't know a lot, and I know even less than what is known. But you look at these Scottish armies, we got a few in essence. Some of these may actually be, when you have some dismounted over here, knights and sergeants, some of them may actually be Normans. That have migrated up to Scotland. There were, including the Bruces and some of the others are made up of actually Norman families that have migrated by that time. Now that was, again, 150 years later, Robert the Bruce. So some of these mounted knights very well could be Normans. Others are just, pseudo-Normans. They're adopting the culture. They're adopting, and that's what they said about King David's court. Is the households are like all speaking French. The upper levels of government are actually having their documents written in French. So it's a Normanization, and so some of these will be pseudo-Normans in essence. Scots that are dressing and acting like Normans. But a lot of the rest of these guys here, these are sort of more like the the fjords of England that we see back in Harold Hardrada's time, the Battle of Hastings and whatnot. A bit more Celticized, shall we say, version of it, maybe. They get to wear cool skirts instead of whatever sort of long shirts that the English would have been wearing. And so they're, more of those types of people that have a warrior spirit themselves, as opposed to being, drafted, if you will, levies. Like, hey, all you peasants, you're going to come over here and practice arms today, 1 day a week kind of thing. And then, oh, hey, once you do enough of that, oh, we're going to war. All of you guys are going to come to war. If not, we're going to do bad things to you. So that is at least how I interpret a lot of this. Okay, well. Nope, they got pushed back. Well, good thing that we're going to shift you like that. We're not going to let this collapse us. The weakest down breaks. Well, the first. The one that we might lose that way. Okay, I think that's all we want to do this turn. Oh, that was painful. Also a bit painful. Yeah. But we're not going to let that break our whole line. That is why you keep it reserved. Okay, well, it's our turn now. Let's get at these guys here. Let's bring these guys over here. Yeah, we're just going to charge on. I know these guys are all routing, but a few hundred years later, the role was found for the English and Welsh peasants. Archers, yes. That is a very significant thing. I mean, the longbow, of course, comes out of Wales. The longbow, you know, they outlaw football, basically, or the proto versions of football, playing it on Sunday so that they would get more men to, you know, do archery on Sundays. And it wasn't so much, can someone shoot a bow and arrow? It was training up the muscles to be able to handle a longbow, which needed a significant amount of strength and a lot of training to do to get to that point. And if you really look at it as a size and percentage of the population, even the size and percentage of the male population of military sort of age at the time, there's very few longbowmen, quite honestly. So you're talking to some degree about the elites of society in a military sense for that. Now, what it does compared to, say, France, which is more wealthy than England, is to allow a military elite to exist that is economically cheaper than the knights that the French were. So that is a big difference. Okay, those archers have broken. We got these guys and these guys to move. Well, let's strike there. They break. These guys are still fighting, so let's charge them with the Prince Henry's unit. Unfortunately, these guys are blocking our movement there. Well, we'll move like this. Short stick, yeah. Be able to shoot your short sticks out there a lot further than they can hold theirs. I think that's a lot. Well, I think we'll just let these guys hang out here for the moment. Yeah. I'm actually surprising myself at how well I'm doing, guys. Now, I am playing on the easiest level. Like I say, we don't have solid numbers on just, you know, what the sizes of each side should be to match the historically based element. I do think this is reasonably correct that once we collapse the knights, the levies will just fall apart, where the levies would be useful to, you know, if you had a situation where one of these pike blocks, or as they would sort of be that way, were engaged with a knight unit or two, and then have an extra levy come up on the flank or something, that would be useful. It would seem to have brittle morale. Yeah, well, we've taken out their CNC, so that is definitely and we won. Definitely a good thing. Okay. Do you wish to accept victory? Yeah, we will accept victory. So, we'll take a look here. Yeah, we were at difficulty Sergeant. Not claiming I'm Richard of York and playing this on a hard difficulty, which basically just gave me more forces. Well, my plan of trying to take out their CNC with my archers, or just poke them enough to have them come out and attack me, failed. What did work was weakening their CNC unit by sacrificing my archers, and then coming into getting most of those knight units at a 2-to-1 advantage, and breaking them in the center there. And then once that collapsed, holding here, because we just no way of enveloping here. They did push out here, which helped us. Once the center did collapse, they pushed here and come up here, which I was hoping for. They did, and then we pushed in and did that. So one unit here did push through one of the units of the pikes and push these guys back. These guys were doing okay. These guys are going to come and save the day. These knights here were going to collapse soon. The levies would have just all fallen as well. For the sake of it, you can start the same battle and see what on Duke difficulty. Well, okay. Let's do that. We can at least start that. Okay, end review. Right. So, oh yeah, they lost a lot more infantry, a lot of wounded, a lot of deserted, captured compared to us. So basically, this is a reversal of the historical. We're going to come, yeah. Oh, I got to go back and change the difficulty setting. Okay, no. Go back. Game preferences, Duke. Okay. Epic battles, feudal north. So the standard, and we're gonna again look from that. And guys, yeah, like Van Bishop, just see what it gives you on the Duke. Okay. So basically, I think it was 500 and some points here. This is the same original deployment. So it's just what is allowed extra. Well, let's see about throwing on, yeah, that's all the archers. Okay, it's that archer unit there. And that's what we could do. So that's what we can do here. Let's play a little bit of this. Okay, we'll check that out in a moment. And we've got these guys. We'll just slightly shift them forward like that a bit. Try something here. I'm not planning on playing the full battle out, but a variation on what I just tried. As you can see, you know, trying to turn these units and move are very slow. And these aren't Roman legions. There wasn't, I mean, outside of, I don't know, Constantinople or something, and I don't even know how good of they would have been. I don't know that there's anything like a Roman legion left on the planet at this time. Something that, you know, you could give a command and everybody would turn the same way and drill in that kind of, you know, right face and have know that the unit is just going to turn and do wheel movements and things that we could expect out of a Roman legion or out of a, you know, a Greek phalanx even, which wasn't as maneuverable. These formation are, you know, gaggles of men that may generally be lined up, but getting them to turn and move about are going to be a very cumbersome affair. They're not going to be a thing that's maneuverable, that's commandable in many ways. I'm not saying you can't command them at all, but they're not going to be you know, anything like a Roman drill operation as we would sort of know it. See, now I'm going to move these guys and turn and face them that way. Well, let's come to here with you. Turn. Okay, you're going to move to here. You're going to move to here. You're going to move to here. And you're going to move to here. You're going to come up to there. To there, to there. And you guys get to come that way. It's just going to be a turning. Right. The Galwegians did better than I thought they would. After reading about them in comparison to the Anglo-Norman knights, but not maybe as good as I'd hoped. Okay, both of these guys are still far enough back not to be shot at by the English archers. Wrong way to turn. These guys up here, not that I'm really planning on using today. The second version of the battle. Turn. after the CNC, the Archbishop or whatever. Yep, and turn. Fire. 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 Come back to here. I can't get around too bad. Okay, well, we'll move these guys out of the way. They don't get moved simply by being broken. Oh, well, now they're shooting at my knives. Oh, come on, run away. Run away. How much control a middle-aged commander had over his units? Probably not much. Well, yeah, once, you know, I know a lot of you guys watch me play Armored Brigade. Once I sort of get that battlefield sort of set up, whether I'm going offensive or defensive, in that, yeah, sure, I'm still sort of telling some of the units what to do, but as an overall commander, I feel I've lost, you know, control of the units, if you will, except for the artillery. It's the artillery that is sort of becomes the commander's job here. Once the battle is set up and like these guys are allowed to charge, the guy, you know, and I don't know what they used at this point, but they did have standards. But the guy who waves the standards, again, I know like the 17th and 18th century a lot better. You know, they look to where the standard is. If the standard's going forward, they go forward. If the standard's going back, they go back. And for the 17th century, standards were down basically at the company level, you know, about every 100 men. By the 18th century, you're at the sort of battalion level with standards. Now, you might have more than one standard for the battalion, In England, it was generally maybe 2 standards. And then you had drums or bugles or other sorts of musical instruments that would command your troops what to do. And that just gives a very limited possibility of what they can do. So back. Okay. So march. The different drum commands that the soldiers knew in the 18th century. I'm sure there's got to be something like that to a degree. We hear the horns and whatnot sounding for the rallies and things that you would be using. But it'd be very, very limited. Well, now these guys are all the way over here. I'm just seeing if we can take them down with the knights. I know this is not the best use or best commanding of knights that I've seen. I'm sure you've seen better. Running low on ammo, but still try to shoot them up. We can move to there. One more turn. Okay, guys. Oh, they auto brake. Wow. This is of somewhat interest. Hope this is entertaining for you guys. It is sort of with me at the moment. I don't know how to get that unit off the battlefield effectively. Maybe this will do it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I guess they can all just come forward. These guys can just come forward. Well, I'm going to save this here. Don't know if we're going to come back to it or not, but maybe. Zero 3. And I I want to again read this. If you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb to every battle. Well, those are sort of the parting thoughts with this, and we're going to come back here so we can now resign. Let's see. Just, okay, I guess main menu. Well, oh, didn't give us the totals there. Most armies in the Middle Ages were probably more disorganized or undisciplined, but if the commander kept a reserve and a battle plan, yes. Oh, you did not resign. Okay, well, let's see, load. How do I resign here? I don't know if I've ever officially resigned a battle. I know I've left them, but flag top upper left. Retreat from battle. Okay. Okay, well, we were 8,055. So I have not actually done that. Where they were 12,000. So they had 4,000 more men than I did. A lot of them were trash, where most of my men were reasonably good. The kind of men that you would want to take on an offensive operation where, again, bishop, cardinal, whatever, that sort of rallied the forces in the north, including some of the major Norman landholding knights and whatnot, as well as the peasants. So a lot of the numbers weren't terribly important, but the Norman knights, as we see, is the key to this battle here. So I hope this was all fun and enjoyable. I believe it is Thursday. Richard of York will be showing off swords and scimitars DLC for the first time, so you want to come back for that if you're interested in this genre. And I think next week I'll be playing Order of Battle. Eventually I'll be playing later this month, taking the first look at the new DLC for it, but not this one. Thank you, everybody. So I don't know if there's any new people here, but I will just drop links to my YouTube channel where you can see these videos, me talking about history and playing historical games, mostly World War II, but other time periods I love talking about too. And of course my Twitch channel, which I'm mostly on the weekends. I'm playing all kinds of stuff, so you can subscribe and follow there if you're new here. Thanks, Jaculius. Thanks, Van Bishop. See you all